Welcome to Friday Takeaway. It is again Friday, 25th November 2016. I'm Chuang, of course, joined by Nadia. It is the, let's start with some global news. Donald Trump again in the news, Nat. He's actually confined, he's actually sent the TPP to the scrap heap first day of work in January.
Well, actually, because he outlined this 100-day
plan. Yes, right.
Put that in quotes. And basically, he said the first day in office, what he's going to do is pull out of the TPP. Of course, TPP was signed by 12 countries. It was really controversial to begin with. And on his pile of campaign promises, he did say that he hated this. He thought NAFTA was awful. So all this is no surprise, but it's still, people still didn't like it.
He said he said it's actually been devised by special interests, and it's been a disease on the economy.
He always thinks it's the disease.
He did say that.
He always thinks it's somebody else out to get him.
He also said that he's a big climate change critic, and he actually has said that he's going to bin NASA climate research, which is actually very interesting because NASA has been responsible for basically a lot of scientific research saying that global warming is happening, but he's going to bin all that as well.
But whether he is going to bin all that is another thing.
Exactly.
Just one day ago, as we were recording this, they said that he softened it. He said there is some connectivity between human activity and global warming, and this is going to be the trademark of his presidency. That he's just going to essentially just U-turn, because remember Obamacare? I'm going to repeal Obamacare. Actually, I'm not going to repeal Obamacare.
Yeah.
So you don't even know with the TPP. Maybe one day he'll wake up 4 months down the line of his presidency and go like, you know what? It was a great idea.
Well, that's exactly what the Malaysian government is doing, because they're saying we're going to wait till there's stuff in writing which says that they're going to consign TPP to the scrap heap before we make the next move. And you could be right.
Yeah.
Okay, Malaysian news, Bank Negara reserves, and this is very interesting because I saw as at halfway point in November, our reserves actually rose to $98.3 billion, up from 97.8 the previous 2 weeks. So I thought the Bank Negara was actually defending the currency. They haven't been on this evidence.
Yeah, actually, if you look at that, it's like because there's been so much thing about the news about non-deliverable forwards and something that sounds like something controls, which they adamantly said
capital
they
controls,
weren't. They adamantly said they weren't, and this is, I suppose, your proof in the pudding.
Yep. Okay. Also, in the fact that India's removal of the 500 and 1,000 rupee notes, that sent tremors all around the world. That's actually a very surprise move by Narendra Modi. But it's hit palm oil prices because apparently that's going to scupper transactions in Malaysia. And people expect that there's going to be a 20% drop in crude and refined palm oil imports into India for the whole month of December.
Yeah, and this actual move is still having reverberations across. And I wonder if it sets a precedent where everybody else who wants to sort of like maybe play around with their currency can do this. Suddenly you wake up tomorrow and your 50 ringgit's worth nothing.
Scary, right?
It is so scary. Your war on cash, the just saying that you just did.
That's right.
Oh my God, it's so true.
It's so true, it's coming true, isn't it?
Please also give me lottery numbers.
Okay, talking about India, Bimal Vasudevan, he's emerged as a substantial shareholder in Presta Riang. He's bought 5.1% in their direct stake. And this comes on the back of Presta Riang's 3.54 billion ringgit immigration job. So did he know something that we don't?
I don't know, because it's the project's actually called Skin. It's for a very, very long time. But apparently the money's only supposed to come in after the 4th year because they have to implement everything first. They're going to be the ones who are going to do like the new immigration system as well. So maybe he knew their potential and went in on potential. Maybe he liked the look of their skirt.
Maybe, that's true. Okay, let's skip to AAX and AirAsia. You know, you like airlines actually, Nadia. 4 straight quarters of...
is a different thing.
Correct. 4 straight quarters of profit. Very interesting. So they're going to book their first annual profit for, I don't know, 3 or 4 years. Interesting.
Yeah, which has actually been, how many years? 3 years since the IPO. So when they actually do their AGM next year, new sort of like CEO Benjamin Ismail is probably going to be all smiles. But the fact is, the parent AirAsia saw a 22% cut in fuel costs. So it's likely that AAX probably saw that as well.
And Link as well, yeah.
Yeah, so because they made money in the second quarter, which is very hard to do because there are no holidays.
Seasonally very low, right?
Seasonally very low, and everybody says bookings, at least for the end of the year, weak ringgit notwithstanding, is going up to about 89%, 70%. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting month for the airlines.
That all being said, in terms of the highlights this week, from an economic standpoint, Bank Negara, unsurprisingly, because 14 economists was being surveyed, and all 14 said no cut in December, from originally a surmisation that actually rates would be cut to deal with slowing demand, But because in response to, I think, the US Federal Reserve and Donald Trump's ascension to the presidency, Bank Negara has left interest rates unchanged at 3%.
Now we have to see, what this is going to mean for like next year and what happens.
Correct. Do we raise or do we cut?
Exactly. And Yellen herself has also come out to say it looks like a cut. It looks like it's going to come for them. And when that happens, what's the ripple effect on somebody like B&M? What do they take away from this queue? And that will play into whether or not they play around with the rates.
Exactly. I mean, we're actually in limbo rock. We've got to wait to see what the Federal Reserve does.
You have to wait till he takes office on January 20th. And even then, you still have to wait.
That's right. Also, in terms of economic news, the Malaysian Employees Federation, pretty dire outlooks for them because they think that in the next 6 months, job losses will accelerate. And don't forget that last year, whole of 2015, 44,000 jobs were officially lost. That's not counting the contract workers. Up to September this year, 32,000 already. So they expect the job losses will accelerate, and they actually want the government to say, hey, let's cut EPF contributions from 13% to just 1 to 2% to allow people to kind of like ride out the storm.
No, but then you see people already had that option. They already had that option to tell their employees, look, I want to sort of like increase or reduce my EPF contribution so I have more disposable income.
Yeah.
So why do you want to do this again? Shouldn't it be battening down the hatches?
Yeah, good point. And I'm sure if it becomes mandatory, then it becomes a bit easier. Okay, let's switch to the markets. And at this point in time, 10 o'clock in the morning, at 9:31 actually, the KLCI was trading at 1,625 points. It slipped into the red for the first time on a one-year return basis, and year-to-date actually we're down by 4%. So it's getting all a bit dire.
Yeah, exactly. But now, in terms of external things as well, Brent, I checked at about 10:28, it's still 48.95 a barrel. The oil story seems to have faded into the background amid bigger stuff.
Yep.
And Ringgit still is the wonderfully worst performing currency in ASEAN as you go to holidays.
Gosh, it just gets uglier and uglier.
If you're going on holiday, I'm so sorry. But you say that maybe Malaysia should stop blaming Trump. It's people taking advantage anyway. Plus, there's other stuff as well that's probably affected the ringgit. Yeah,
1MDB, of course, the fact that our competitiveness keeps waning. But against the Aussie dollar as well, we're declining. 330 to the Aussie at this point in time. 553 to the sterling. I remember just about 2 weeks ago, 2 or 3 weeks ago, the sterling was actually at 515, 510. So yeah.
Yeah, I know. It's like now we're going to have to see. I don't know. It's been so turbulent the past couple. But is it whether the rate cut's going to calm it or whether it's actually going to stay? Currency is going to be the big story for the next 2 months.
Correct. Very quickly, let's look at Felda Global Ventures, and they've had a pretty bad run of news, and third quarter performances were really bad. Losses widen on a 9-month basis. It's pretty bad. Almost triple. But then they've also discovered corruption in their Turkey subsidiary. Invoices were fabricated, signatures were fabricated. It's all looking a bit dire for them as well.
Actually, this is the issue with when you have international ventures, right? Because when you go in and you do your duty, I always think that if they want to hide something from you, they will hide something.
They will, yeah, exactly.
And now it's all sort of coming out. You didn't know whether you bought, a diamond or a lemon sort of thing. But CEO Dato Zakaria said, fraudulent acts were uncovered in their subsidiary, but why wasn't this raised earlier? I mean, why is it now? It already
Good question.
No, but it already hurt the price. It came down 18% from a week ago?
That's right. Last week, actually, it was around about 192, today 157. Very quickly as well, let's move on to MSM now. They've pushed for a sugar hike. They've down about 1% on the week. They're asking the government to allow them to raise sugar prices by 30%. I'm not sure whether the racket can take it because costs are rising everywhere.
Yeah, exactly. And here's the thing. Even if you are not eating the sugar, or let's say merchants don't use sugar as much, it trickles down the chain, right?
Exactly.
So suddenly your teh tarik gets more expensive, although teh tarik doesn't technically use sugar, it uses condensed milk. So, but it's an excuse for merchants to kind of raise prices, and that hurts us again.
And there is an economic effect, as you're saying. Okay, in terms of next week, it's still earnings season, last week of the month for reporting. Highlights, I think on Monday, people like Evergreen reports, AWC report, AWC third quarter, Only World report first quarter. On Tuesday, DRB HiCom for second quarter.
Which I want to see because of Proton.
Because of Proton.
Because they've had 4 launches this year. Let's see if that actually helped anything.
Correct. Lafarge also reports third quarter, Mudajaya third quarter, and on Wednesday, MRCB reports third quarter, and they have a briefing as well.
Yeah, and money supply. That's going to be interesting to watch.
Okay, well.
Yeah, that's all for us today for Friday Takeaway. I'm Nadia and he's Chuang. If you actually want more on all that we talked about, there's always the papers. Tomorrow the weekly comes out as well and you can actually check online. Have a good weekend, guys.
Good night.